I paid careful attention to what Foreign Minister Dendias said sitting on this stage yesterday, and I am delighted to hear his confidence, which the United States hopes for as well, that this will be a quiet summer. I think everybody would benefit from that. We are strongly supportive of the steps that Prime Minister Mitsotakis and the Greek government have taken to promote dialogue with Turkey, but also to reaffirm the red lines, which we would expect nothing less from Greece. We were quite vocal last year, as you will remember, in expressing our concern about some of the provocative activities that Turkey was engaged in, including in the waters off of Cyprus. I think it's pretty clear that we're in a different phase now, and that's to everybody's benefit. And what's very clear to me is that there are probably no two members of NATO that are as strongly aligned as are the United States and Greece on the principle that we want to keep Turkey anchored in the West. Even as we speak very clearly about our differences, and we just had my new boss, longtime colleague Wendy Sherman, our Deputy Secretary of State, was just in Turkey. She spoke very clearly about issues like S-400, as well as our real concerns about issues like Turkey's withdrawal from the Istanbul Convention and the issues of human rights and democracy internally. But we're also going to keep a positive focus on supporting the diplomatic track. And I think I am quite confident that Washington understands the very clear messages that Prime Minister Mitsotakis and his team have been sending to try to keep things quiet. As I said to somebody, we all want a quiet summer except on Mykonos.
True. Okay, let's hope for that. But you just mentioned the S-400 issue.
Yes.
And I was wondering whether that would be the turning point, the spark plug, the possible point that maybe President Biden will raise on President Erdogan next week when they meet. Should we expect something on that?
So I don't want to preview or foreshadow what President Biden is going to bring to the table with President Erdogan, but it's very clear U.S. policy on the question of the S-400 has been clearly enunciated by two presidential administrations at the most senior levels, and then reaffirmed by Congress, which has established very clear parameters. And I think that's, so I hope that that aspect of it is well understood.
We know, of course, that President Biden is a very good friend of Greece. How do you think that our relations will evolve during the Biden-Harris administration?
I think President Biden said it himself very well in his address to the Greek people for Independence Day on the bicentennial, that he wants to be the president who takes U.S.-Greece relations to the highest level they've ever achieved. I know, having talked to him about these issues here in Athens, I know how committed he is to the U.S. relationship with Greece. And it's not just the president, it's the whole team. There is a remarkable alignment right now with Secretary Blinken and President Biden and Vice President Harris and Jake Sullivan as National Security Advisor. These are all people who know Greece, who know Southeastern Europe. They also know the Eastern Mediterranean. And I think one of the other clear trend lines from my time here in Greece has been the growing strategic ambition of Greece's foreign policy, both up into the Western Balkans, unlocked by the Precipice Agreement and the new relationship, and Foreign Minister Dendias, of course, is in Kosovo today, but then also importantly in the Western Balkans. The 3+1 with Greece, Israel, and Cyprus, the relationship with Egypt, UAE, even as far afield as Saudi and India, all of which advances Greece's strategic interests, but it also advances American interests.
We only have a minute and a half, and let me ask you a final question. You've been here in our country for 5 years, and I would like to ask you, what is the most remarkable or the most critical moment that you experienced in your tenure so far?
It's hard to say because there have been so many remarkable moments.
True.
One of them was right near the beginning. President Obama's visit was spectacular. The way in which, and you'll remember the way in which he was received in his speech at the Niarchos Center.
Yeah.
The way in which he spoke on the Acropolis, and frankly, the very serious conversation that he had with Prime Minister Tsipras about what in those days were critical issues like debt sustainability. I also remember Prime Minister Tsipras's October 2017 visit to the White House. That was an important turning point, to have a series of prime minister speaking so positively about relations with the United States. And then the fantastically warm reception that Prime Minister Mitsotakis received at the White House in January of 2020, just before the pandemic. But I also remember the spectacular reception on the 8th floor of the State Department, the best entertainment room in Washington, D.C., with Secretary Pompeo and Vice President Pence. And then I think one of my other really inspiring moments was January 20th, and being with President Saakaropoulou at the Agora after a very difficult U.S. presidential election and the assault on our Capitol building. It was very moving for me as an American to hear the way your president spoke about American democracy and the importance of reaffirming American democracy, but to do so in the Agora, in the place where our democratic ideals were born, was really a remarkable moment.